Twala. See the world from a woman's point of view.
Gina Holloway Mulder is a voice movement therapy practitioner, and she is joining me now to talk about self-expression using voice therapy movement. Hello, Gina.
Hi, Shado. How are you?
Good to talk to you again.
Good, yes. Good to be here with you.
I'm good, thank you. You have a workshop tomorrow. On the 19th.
Saturday.
On Saturday. Where am I? I'm not sure what... I beg your pardon, on Saturday. You have a workshop introducing us to voice movement therapy. What are we talking about, Gina?
Well, what we do is we help people to become aware that the voice and the body and the self are always working together. And so if you think of somebody who is depressed, for example, their body will take a particular posture. Their voice will also sound in a particular way. If we think of someone who is embarrassed, there's a particular way that the body responds to that moment of embarrassment. And so what we do is we help people to identify how they are using their voice and their body in the moments of communication, of self-expression. And then we help them through the process to understand, well, what are the alternatives to this habitual pattern? How else can I cope with my environment and my relationships in this moment?
So are we saying, Gina, the way we are doing it now is wrong by reacting to my depression and that body movement? Is that wrong? I
don't think it's wrong. I think we get stuck in patterns. Okay. And if we want to help people to transform and to change things for themselves, we need to be looking at how do we help the whole person, and that includes an embodied way of working and an invoiced way of working.
Okay, because I may be thinking something else and sending out the wrong message because of what my voice sounds like or what my body language is looking like.
That's right. Or the message you think you are sending out perhaps isn't the message that others are receiving. So
it would help us across the board then, but especially in places where we engage with others, at work, in business, and in fact in our daily lives.
Yes, absolutely. And it's through gaining an awareness of how we carry ourselves, how we present ourselves, and then finding those embodied alternatives and practicing those, or going through a process of physically exploring a different way of being. That when we are in our business environment or in our social environment, those alternatives become reference points which are embodied for us to draw on. It's not a concept which is foreign. To say to somebody, "Oh, you're slouching, stand up straight," it doesn't really help.
But I'm thinking how we can use it to heal ourselves. If you've been ill and you've recovered, but in your head you still haven't, because there's a post-traumatic experience that you still keep with you. Can one use this therapy?
Absolutely. When we work one-on-one with clients, we really go with where the client is at that moment, and we follow what the body is telling us and what the voice is telling us, and we gently find ways of expressing so that we can find healing through the body and through the voice. A lot of traumatic events and stressful events affect the way that the body responds to the environment and to others. So by providing a safe holding space for us to explore other ways of being, we then help people to heal through an embodied way, or in an embodied way.
Can you tell anything about my voice right now? I had to go there. Well, I ask you this because it's important for us, even though I think I may be in a good place. But if I talk to you in a particular way, okay, not me really, but if I walk into your room and I say, I'm feeling good and there's nothing wrong with me, can you tell when you look at me from what I'm saying, meaning sound of my voice and body posture, that actually I'm not okay?
Yes, I can.
So you can read that whole.
That's right. So in the training that we do, we are taught how to read somebody's body, how they move, and also we work with what we call the 10 vocal components. So each person's voice is made up of more or less of each of these components. And as a practitioner, we're trained to understand the underlying emotions and the underlying message of the tone of the voice, if you like. The nuances of the voice are sending us messages as to where the person is emotionally and psychologically.
Are you able to give me those components, or should I come to the workshop?
Come to the workshop. So pitch is one of them. So, some people use their voice in a higher pitch than others. Some people can speak down here and other people speak up here. Mm-hmm. Or one might find that in a stressful situation or when you're presenting to a board, at a board meeting, suddenly your voice starts to get higher and higher. And what do you do to change that in the moments of communication? You need to understand how your breath is working. You need to understand how the body and the voice are working together in that moment to cope with that moment and to put your best self forward.
And the pace of your speech, of your delivery. Because then when you run through things, that may mean you're uncomfortable.
Absolutely. And then, we also work with one's relationship to space. And how are you coming forward in yourself? And in anxiety, we often put ourselves out there. We come forward in ourselves. And building an awareness of the body in space helps us to come back to a place of empowerment, a place of assertivity, rather than coming across as being anxious.
Gina, I didn't understand that. Coming forward in our...
If one is anxious, one comes forward in the body. You almost feel as if you are really putting yourself out there. There's not much of a buffer between yourself and the world.
Wow.
So if one physically moves the body into more of a vertical alignment rather than coming forward, you're able to ground yourself and center yourself and speak from a much more confident and much more empowered place than if you are coming forward in yourself.
I've never heard that terminology before, but I hear exactly what you're saying, and I can see it happen, because when you're anxious, you almost, even your hands start flapping about.
That's right.
And then and you are going forward. I didn't realize it. I've learned something from you today. Thank you so much. So who should come to this workshop?
Well, anybody who is interested in finding their voice, their actual acoustic voice or their voice in the world, because that's essentially what we're helping people to do, is to find their voice and to reclaim the voice from being silenced or choosing silence. So it's about finding your voice, and people who are interested in alternative ways of healing and of self-cultivation. Essentially, it's a process which helps people to cultivate themselves through expressing themselves more fully.
So if I'm a performer, let's say, a drama student, would you be able to help me in the way I project? Even though I'm not projecting myself, I'm assuming somebody else's personality and wants to go out and become that person and then come back to myself. Are you able to work with me in that way?
Yes, we are definitely able to work with performers. I've done a lot of work with performers. I've done a lot of work with executives, corporate people, people who are looking for just healing and a different way of finding self-expression and reclaiming their voice. And I've also done quite a lot of work with in the special needs environment, where people are battling to communicate.
Okay.
So it's about communication of the self and about expanding one's sense of self.
Gina, stay with me, please. We take a little break because I want us to talk about what you can do for children after this.
On SAfm.
My guest is the voice movement therapy practitioner, Gina Holloway Mulder, and we're talking about how one can benefit from this therapy. Gina, I'm curious about how one, because I suppose when we're born we naturally are okay with ourselves, and then we get socialized, and over the years then we need to re erase what we've been socialized into doing. And this is why we have people like yourself teaching us these therapies and voice therapy movement. So children would they be necessarily already, after being socialized, can you reverse those things with voice therapy?
What we do is we can offer tools which help children to really stay true to themselves and stay grounded, understanding themselves as a more holistic being, that the body and the voice are integrated in who they are, so that we don't land up with people who are disconnected from their bodies and functioning just on a cognitive level. So in the work with children, we aim to meet them at their level. We're not expecting them to come up to our level. We're on the floor, we work creatively, and we bring awareness to the fact that they have a voice in the world, because quite often children are silenced.
Yes.
And how do we develop that understanding that I have a voice, I have a place in this world, I have value, and offer them a platform to really voice themselves and empower themselves
And
through their voice.
And get into more trouble at school. Somebody saying, "Why don't you shut up?" No, but it's very interesting, because I think then the independent young people, when they grow up, because they know what they want, they say what they want, so they're less frustrated with holding back all the time. And I would suggest that if any parent has a child, then maybe they come and visit you as well. Let's talk about. I've just read a very disturbing book about mental illness, and does this therapy assist people that have been diagnosed with mental illness? And I say diagnosed because it's also very sensitive. I think it's people that are misunderstood, but that's for another day. But right now, can you do anything with this voice therapy movement to assist people with mental illness?
I think the work helps people to center themselves and to find some kind of integration within the self. And in that, we can find our grounding and find our sense of confidence and sense of self, which is not shaky or floating off, but something which is really solid. And we find that through the voice and through the body. It's not something we can just conceptualize. It's a felt experience. The work also provides a space for full expression of the human experience. We provide a safe space for finding ways to express something which there aren't words for. We use obviously the voice and the body. We use drawing. We use pictures. We use symbols. We try and facilitate as much as possible a fuller expression of what somebody is going through, or something that somebody is trying to deal with or cope with.
But I would imagine then, I mean, you're giving a one-day workshop, which is hardly enough. Would you be able to train parents or caregivers to continue this therapy, or does it have to be done by yourself only?
Currently, there are 9 registered practitioners in South Africa. One of which is in Cape Town. There are quite a few people in George, Oudtshoorn area, and there's someone in PE. I'm based in Johannesburg, and a colleague is based in Pretoria. In September, I will be running a 10-day training program, which will be which is certified by the IAVMT, which is the International Association of Voice Movement Therapy. And a parent or a practitioner who feels that this work might be of value to their practice or to their relationship with their child can come along to that training where we will cover the basics of the various different techniques that we use.
Okay, but for this Saturday, it's just an introduction to...
This is an introduction, and it will take people on a physical experience and a vocal experience of what this work is. It's quite difficult to articulate in words what is very much an embodied and invoiced process.
I think you've done very well.
Well, good. It's always a challenge.
No, it's really, when you love what you do, it doesn't matter what words you use, but it comes through eventually, I think. So where is the workshop?
The workshop is at UCT. It will be held at the rehearsal studio, which is in the Old Commerce Block on the Hidding campus.
Okay.
And we will be starting at 9 o'clock, and the workshop runs until 4.
So how do people attend? Do they just register, or do they just pitch up?
I think the best thing to do at this stage is to actually send me your email address on my cell number, and I will email you the pamphlet with all the details, including what we will be covering in the workshop.
Alternatively, go to your website, right?
Alternatively, the best place for this specific workshop would be the Facebook page of Voice Movement Therapy Cape Town.
Okay,
The event is posted there.
Voice Movement Therapy Cape Town.
That's right.
And hopefully your colleagues around the country will be able to let us know when they come to our different spaces.
That's right, yes.
It's been a pleasure talking to you, Gina. I hope it all goes well.
Thank
and
you.
I've got a feeling that we'll be chatting again before the end of the year.
Good. I look forward to it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Gina.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So there you have it, voice therapy movement. Voice movement therapy, I beg your pardon, voice movement therapy, VMT.